So we come to the last race of the meeting here at the final round of the 2019 Rotax Max Challenge Clubsport season here in Kerpen. And to close out the action is DD2 and DD2 Masters. The grid is as follows. On the front row, it's the brothers Breitenbach with Florian on pole position on the 405 with the 422 of Oliver alongside. Lawrence Seyfried in the 439 will have Bennett Müller on the 465 alongside for company on row 2. Mark Bartels starts in the 410 in 5th position. Alongside will be the 499 of Jan Samer. Then we have Thomas Schumacher in the 401 and Andreas Schindler, who will again, for the second race in succession, start from pole position and will be on the outside of row number 4 with Leonard Possi in the 441 and Karl Lukaszewski in the 406, rounding out the top 10. Silvio Pipohato is not going to be starting from 13th position, so we will have 24 drivers competing in this one. So behind Lukaszewski will be Nico Gnad in the 466, the 420 of Jonas Wolscheid, the 456 of Kai Honne, the 552 of Sascha Frankenbusch, the 403 of Denny Schalau, the 461 of Philipp Wolfgen, the 464 of Stefan Grabau, the 477 of David Haas, the 440 of Florian Bopp, the 558 of Martin Berger, the 575 of Thomas Donsol, with Fabio Citignola in the 409, Jan Müller in the 459, and Maximilian Dombos rounding out the 24 drivers. So 14 minutes now set on the clock, plus one additional lap here in Kerpen to close out the 2019 season. A quick nod of acknowledgement from Florian to Oliver there on the front row with the grid, because they want to get a textbook start, and if they can make it not only a brotherly 1-2, but a team 1-2 this afternoon to close out the season, it could be a good sign ahead of next year. But it looks like we're going to have another rolling start formation lap now. So the drivers now have to resettle, refocus, control out and delete, if you will, before they get the 14-minute race plus one additional lap underway here for the final time of the season. So the top 10, it's Florian and Oliver Breitenbach on the front row. Then it's Seyfried and Müller, Bartels, Samer, Schumacher, Schindler, Possi and Lukaszewski. That's the top 10 as they go through the... there's quite a lot of nice German forestry around here, and I thought we had it good in England. But definitely very nice here in Kerpen. Lovely to be here for the first time, one of multiple new circuits I've been at this season. With DD2 and DD2 Masters normally quite competitive as always, and I don't expect anything less from those here. So now the two Breitenbach brothers will have to get everything line astern, as Lawrence Seyfried definitely looks like he is ready to go racing for one final time. But it's just about how... Now, the thing is that my biggest concern here is that everyone is now going to have to rush around like idiots to get towards the back of the grid. Now, are we going to get... I don't know. I don't think... No, that's a false start. That was clearly a false start. So it needs to be third time's the charm here. As we've got the 401 of Thomas Schumacher running a bit slowly there, coming across the start-finish line. So we had Buperato as the first driver to not start. And before we get going racing, could Thomas Schumacher also be one that does not start the race, or can he get up towards the back part of the grid? So now they are getting a stern warning of, please let us get the grid settled. Now it's getting a bit more compact. Now it looks a bit more even. The anticipation builds of the final race of the season through the Schumacher chicane. Come the DD2 and the DD2 Masters field round the final corner. Andreas Mattis saying to them, please slow down before you go racing. And we've already had a problem in the back part of the field. And we've gone lights out for the final time in the season. And the driver, that looks to be possibly Thomas Schumacher, that has not got going. Had to pull over to one side of the... and that is Thomas Schumacher. So just basically crawling as and pulls off to the circuit on the right-hand side on the approach to the start-finish line. As now there has been a slight change, as it looks like Marc Bartels in the initial foray has got past Laurens Seyfried for third place. And it is 7 karts at the front that are starting to pull away. And one of them is actually a DD2 Masters drivers. Nice work by Andreas Schindler at the back part of that 7-kart melee. And Schindler's actually going for P6 overall. He doesn't want to just be the DD2 Masters class winner. He's going up the inside of Jan Zamer, I think. Going into turn 2, and he's made the move. That's a brazen one from Andreas Schindler. Nice work there. So at the moment, it is... Now it looks like Marc Bartels has just lost out to Bennett Müller in the 465. As Laurens Seyfried, I think now has just got back into P3 behind the two Breitenbachs at the moment, who are now starting to pull away. And now it's got to be a case of the 439 and also now the 465 of Bennett Müller that need to start working together. The two brothers at the front will have to start doing so. And there's a bit more positional changes as Marc Bartels drops to 7th and is coming under pressure from Jonas Wolscheid in the 420. As now looks like the moves happen for third place, as long Seyfried has now been overtaken by Bennett Müller through turn 2. And again, Seyfried, I think, has lost another position, maybe even make that 2. As that's 11 minutes and 54 still to go on the clock, plus an additional lap. And it's Florian and Oliver Breitenbach that are leading, and they have a huge gap. The gap last time was 1.865 seconds between second and third place. That looks to have possibly extended past 2 seconds at the very, very least, maybe even make that 2.5 seconds. Yeah, 2.355 between Oliver Breitenbach and Bennett Müller at second and third place. Andreas Schindler all the way now up into fourth place. Jan Zamer is ahead of Jonas Wolscheid and Laurens Seyfried, who rounds out the top 7. Lukaszewski now rounds out the top 8 ahead of Leonard Post and also Marc Bartels. So Bartels all the way down into the 10th position there. But there's still going to be time for drivers to make inroads forwards. And there has been a 10-second penalty. Jan Zamer has just got that thrown in his general direction. That is a 10-second penalty for a full stop, incorrect starting position. So that is going to drop Jan Zamer way down the order. So he's currently 4.1 seconds off the leader. That's going to put him out of the top 15 at the very least. As Laurens Seyfried coming under pressure still again. And this is by the likes of Nico Gnad, who I think have just gone up the inside for 9th place. And he's going side by side with Kai Honne. And it looks like Seyfried just wanted to keep out of trouble, keep his nose clean. But the Breitenbachs were exactly 0.3 of a second adrift of each other. But Jan Zamer is going to try and get past Andreas Schindler. But now the thing is that Jan is going to have to try and see how far up the road. If he can make a 10-second gap appear over the next 10 or so minutes, he's got a chance of keeping his position. But if he keeps on battling, he's just gone up the inside of Andreas Schindler there for P4 on the road. And that is going to drop him still round to about 13th place if the race was to finish as it stands right now. So the Breitenbachs putting on a little bit of a display on the final race of the season. with 9 minutes and 22 seconds plus an additional lap to go. They were 0.269 of a second adrift of each other. It's gone to 3.5 tenths. Bennett Müller rounds out the top three. Andreas Schindler will be now in 5th place ahead of Jan Samer, who has got a 10-second incorrect starting position penalty. Jonas Wolscheid, Karl Lukaszewski, Leonard Boss, Nico Gnad, Kai Horner now round out the top 10. Lawrence Seyfried starting from P3, now in 11th position. Stefan Grabau, Sascha Frankenbusch, Maximilian Dombos, and also Jan Müller round out the top 15. And out of the top 15, I spot 2 DD2 Masters drivers, with Andreas Schindler up into P5, leading the class overall, with Sascha Frankenbusch all the way down in P13 as the two brothers Breidenbach go across the line there just under 4 tenths of a second apart, with 8 minutes and 20 seconds still to go here in Kerpen, plus an additional lap of the season, as they go through the left at turn 4, which puts them onto the double S's. And I don't think Florian's going to have it all quite his own way, because Oliver looks a bit more purchased through the S's. They've just come through the back straight into the left-hand approach through the Schumacher chicane, which is pretty much full throttle before hitting a very, very late braking zone. They go across the line once again. Gap now just under 3 tenths. And it's good to see that they didn't decide to opt on the same race helmet colour scheme, because the only way that you'd be able to pick them out would be their race numbers. So Florian continues to lead. So Florian Breitenbach, Oliver Breitenbach, Bennett Müller, Jan Samer, Andreas Schindler still leading DD2 Masters in 5th position. Wolscheid, Lukaszewski, Posse, Gnad, Horne, Grabau, Dornbos. Now I've just noticed that Lawrence Seyfried is running in 18th. Has he got a problem in the final race of the season? Frankenbusch, Müller and Haas ran out the top 15 ahead of Schalau. Citignola up to 17th position ahead of Lawrence Seyfried. Florian Bopp and Thomas Donstol round out the top 20 ahead of Mark Bartels, who's dropped all the way out of contention and is a lap off of the leaders. Well, he's down in 21st position ahead of the 558 of DD2 Masters driver Martin Berger, with Philipp Wolfken being the last of the 23 drivers still circulating, with Thomas Schumacher unfortunately retiring just before the start, as we've got a bit of argy-bargy down at turn number 2, and it's nearly 3 abreast going through the left-hander at turn 3. So what is that all about? Oh, someone goes bumping over the grass and grass tracking, but luckily enough kept the foot fully planted to the floor, throttle down to the chassis plate. So whoever did that, bravo, nice work there. As there is someone in the form of the 461, that is Philipp Wolfken, just letting the field go past and run his own race, as we got just over 5 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap of the season remaining. So Florian Breitenbach and Oliver Breitenbach just continue the running in formation at the moment. Just keeping an eye on what is happening with the drivers behind, because it looks like Mark Bartels and Martin Berger. Well, Martin Berger has now gone up into 21st position. So has Mark Bartels possibly parked it? Not too sure. Or just letting back marker traffic come through, which will include the 2 leaders who've just gone through turn number 4. And there have been some other changes. Wolscheid now past Andreas Schindler for 6th position. Don't forget about the 10-second penalty that has been given to Jan Samer in the 499. And he's 6.6 seconds off of the leader. And with the penalty, that will put him, provisionally speaking, at around about 10th position. So he's doing his best, is Jan, to try and move forward. So still a bit of time left to go in the race, as there are definitely some drivers trying to fight for a bit of pride and obviously try and fight for some sort of position, as we've got Jan Samer being closed down in on by Jonas Volscheid in the 420. As the two leaders now come through the Schumacher chicane with around 4 minutes remaining. And you can just see how quick these carts are through this particular side of things, as Volscheid closing on Samer for the position. That's for 4th on the road. This could possibly drop Jan Samer out of the top 10. But it just depends on how quickly Volscheid gets past the 499. So they go through turn number 4. A little bit of a sideways drift from Samer there, with Volscheid keeping it nice and planted, straight and true through the corner, keeping the optimum racing line. As it looks like we also have Mark Bartels as a confirmed retirement. 4 laps to go, so on lap number 9, lap 10 of the race, Mark Bartels unfortunately retired. And it looks like we've also got the 477 of David Haas as we go into the last 180 seconds, plus an additional lap of the season here at Kerpen for the 2019 Rotax Max Challenge Clubsport season. So blue flags being employed whenever it is possible. But the battle still is on for what is P4 on the road. Figuratively speaking, literally speaking, it means that Jonas Volscheid wants that P4. And just ahead, they've got a back marker. So if Samer gets compromised, then Volscheid will pounce. But it's not quite happening just yet for the 420. Just got to bide the time there. And wait for when Samer makes a mistake and goes side by side with the 499 across the start-finish line. Through into turn 1, goes towards the inside. And can't quite go through that time. Maybe on the next lap, it could happen for the 420. So, and we've also had Lawrence Seyfried retire as well. So Seyfried in the 439 from RS Competition, calling it a day with around about 12 laps completed. As the Breitenbachs now are just, I think, just cruising a bit more, because now they've got a bit of a substantial gap. Well, Florian Breitenbach back to Oliver has got a gap now. It was just under 4.5 tenths. It is now 1.3 seconds nigh on. Bennett Müller has been a bit lonely in 3rd place on the 465, who's now getting past the 440 of Florian Bopp in 17th position. Jan Samer is still fending off Jonas Volscheid in the 420 as they go through the left-hander at turn number 4. With Andreas Schindler still doing great guns in 6th position. We go into the last 60 seconds of the season, plus an additional lap. So Florian and then Oliver Breitenbach definitely make sure that they are... Now, I'm seeing something very interesting here. Not to put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons, but Oliver Breitenbach has just had a 47.4 second lap. And then of all drivers to close up by 1.2 seconds is the driver in 3rd, Bennett Müller. So Müller is on a fly, did a 46.231, whereas Oliver Breitenbach did a 47.471. As backmarkers getting out of the way of the dueling pair that is Jan Samer and Jonas Volscheid. And that's the 499 and the 420, who are line astern, coming through the left-hand approach as the timer is literally about to click away. Now, that's it. 14 minutes are up. And with a couple of seconds to spare, Florian Breitenbach crossed the start-finish line. Now, my question is, what has happened to Oliver Breitenbach? Has he had a problem? Has he had a problem? Because he is not moving anywhere on the timing. He's on the side of the circuit before the left-hand approach, on the other side of what would be turn 1. So a breakdown for Oliver Breitenbach on the on the penultimate lap of the season. Scuppers a brotherly 1-2. as this time around Florian Breitenbach comes through the Schumacher chicane for the penultimate time. He gets the final lap board, and it's not just the final lap board of the race, it's the final lap board of the season, with Bennett Müller just trying to see if he can get into the gap between himself. And now the battle between Volscheid and Sammer is now for P3, but Sammer will drop down by an additional 10 seconds as they go nearly banging wheels into turn 3. Do Sammer and Volscheid. So Volscheid, I think, just really doesn't need to force the issue, because that could take the pair of them out, and they both won't want that at the end of the season. But through the left-hand approach to the Schumacher chicane for the final time, flies through Florian Breitenbach. The checkered flag is being prepared, and the 4:05 wins the final race of the 2019 RMC Clubsport season here in Kerpen. Bennett Müller takes second place, and even though Jan Seymour took third on the road, he will be demoted through the 10-second incorrect starting position penalty. It means that Jonas Volscheid will be in third place at the end of the season. There are battles still happening all the way through to the checkered flag, as it should be customary in racing. Karl Lukaszewski will end up in fourth place ahead of Lennart Boss in the 4:41, with Andreas Schindler ending the season off strongly with a class win, and he will get P6 once the penalties have been applied. Or might he? He will do, because effectively Jan Seymour will be demoted all the way down to what is effectively 8th position once the timing has been applied. But Florian Breitenbach, provisionally speaking, wins the final race of the 2019 season in DD2 and DD2 Masters, and also the closing race of the 2019 calendar. He finishes 3.65 seconds ahead of Bennett Müller, with Jan Seymour provisionally will be third, but he will be dropped down to the bottom part of the top 10 ahead of Jonas Volscheid, Karl Lukaszewski, Lennart Boss. Andreas Schindler wins in DD2 Masters, Nico Knad, and the penalty has been applied. Jan Seymour does now finish in 8th place as a result of that, with Kai Honner and Maximilian Dombos finishing, rounding out the top 10. Jan Müller in 11th ahead of Stefan Grabau, with Frankenbusch, Citignola, Schalau, Bob, Donsel, Berger, Wolfgang being the last of the 19 strong drivers that finished, with Pippo Hato not even starting the race. Schumacher out on lap 1, with Bartels, Haas, Seyfried and Oliver Breitenbach retiring from the race.